Chevy Chase, Gilda Radner, Dan Iyek, how the do you pronounce this?
Aykroyd.
Hello all, how are
there.
we?
Oh, how are you?
I'm doing great. I loved Saturday Night.
Thanks.
I spent the whole movie though also wondering like, do you ever have a moment where you're like, what does Chevy think of this? Is he okay with this?
100%. Yeah, I think for all of us, it was really important to create a performance that would honor these people. I personally didn't have the privilege to meet Chevy, but he was constantly with me. And one of the things that was really important to me was capturing the Chevy that everyone knows and loves, this confident, charismatic guy. But in the script, you really need to see a nervous, vulnerable guy. And so I was on the hunt for finding that person. And there was his first appearance on the Johnny Carson show. He sort of gets humiliated at the very top. And that was like my in. And I hope that when Chevy saw it, because he did see the movie, that he saw a real human version of himself and not just his public persona.
I'm not Chevy, but that's what I saw. So.
Thank you.
And we all saw that.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Fantastic.
Gilda Radner was an icon. Was there a moment in filming that you either learned something surprising or that you had a moment where you just felt like that delight of like who she was?
Oh, I mean, she's like a true delight of a human with such a lasting impact, and not somebody I knew before shooting this movie. And I had the tremendous pleasure of speaking to Alan Zweibel, who was one of Gilda's closest friends, and they wrote Rosanna Dana together. And hearing about Gilda's kindness and generosity firsthand was really special to me. And then as I got to know her mannerisms and the way that she moved her body and her voice work, what was really interesting to me was how familiar I was with it through comedians like Kristen Wiig and actresses like Emma Stone. Like, it was quite the discovery for me to realize that I'd been being impacted by Gilda long before I realized I had been. You say that a little bit about Garrett,
Like the legacy.
Yeah, it's like Garrett did his thing, and a lot of folks didn't really know too much about Garrett back then. But the comedians did, and they would take a little bit from him. Whether you know you're doing it or not, it just happens, And then before you know it, I admire Eddie Murphy, but what I don't realize is that Eddie Murphy took a little bit from Garrett, and that just goes on and on and on and on and on down the line. You know what I mean? You hear it all the time now, especially like doing what we do. When folks say, "Hey man, I grew up watching you," and you go, "One, I'm not that damn." But two, like I'm very honored, but I got my energy from Chappelle or from Eddie, you know what I mean? So yeah.
I love in the movie how Garrett, and therefore you, is almost not just a straight man, but like meta-theatrically aware. Like, what am I doing here? And yet you're bringing those serious acting chops.
Yeah.
Do you feel that pride of like your talent is shining through?
Yeah, a little bit. You know what I mean?
Good question.
Yeah, I just think Garrett and I had a very similar walk. You know what I mean? Like we have a very similar walk where, I mean, and not just metaphorically, physically too, but metaphorically, I'm a fish out of water in a lot of projects that I do. A lot of times, even back in the Second City days, it's like, do this goofy bit, but you realize I'm an actor as well. I want to play this one real, and I'll let this person be silly.
You're an Emmy-nominated actor.
Yes, he is.
That is true. That is true.
But and that's kind of how I felt here, on this movie sometimes as well, being the elder statesman. There are these moments where the kids are running around and I'm like this.
I also would often turn to Papa Lamorne for advice.
Oh, Papa Lamorne.
Lamorne, please tell me how to be funny.
Oh my.
You get one enlarged prostate and everybody calls you old.
Oh my God. Last but not least, when I think of SNL, I think of Lonely Island. What do you all think of?
I go back to when I was a kid and I was first watching it and watching Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry and Molly Shannon and Anna Gasteyer. That was like my introduction really to like comedy and certainly to SNL.
I think about Kristen Wiig.
As you should.
Turning off a light bulb. And I'm late to SNL too. Like I didn't grow up watching it, but yeah. turn on that light bulb.
I think of Will Ferrell. I just think of Will Ferrell. Man, he's so
King
funny.
of SNL.
He's the
Lacking that cowbell.
Yeah. Yeah. More cowbell.
Well, thank you all so much for taking me back to the first episode ever before I was born. I had to go watch it immediately after.
Nice.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a great
Pleasure.
rest of your TIFF.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, tripped over my penis.